Ukraine is often portrayed as a nation of bravery and resilience, with its people determined to fight for their future. Its historic cities, golden dome churches, and stunning landscapes make it a country admired around the world. However, behind this image of courage and patriotism lies a dark reality rarely seen in the news. 2 years after the start of the Russian offensive, countless Ukrainians continue to survive amidst chaos. Underground schools have been built to protect children from constant airstrikes, while the number of internally displaced citizens continues to rise. And the problems don't end there. Forced conscription has caused outrage and internal conflict, as many civilians are being forced into battle against their will. In response to the labor shortage, many women have taken on grueling jobs in areas traditionally dominated by men, facing cultural barriers and harsh working conditions. But before we begin, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. It's free and helps me keep bringing you new content. At the same time, the LGBTQ+ community remains marginalized, deprived of basic rights, and constantly subjected to aggression. Although Ukrainian women are widely recognized in international beauty pageants within their own country, many face extreme situations, with the rise of prostitution as a direct reflection of the economic collapse. The nation is also undergoing a worrying population transformation. Women far outnumber men. In some places, this difference is so pronounced that finding a partner has become an almost impossible task for many. The origin of this imbalance dates back to events of past decades. Destructive conflicts, such as World War II, caused a huge loss of male lives. Later, economic crises, coupled with high migration rates, resulted in the departure of thousands of men seeking new opportunities abroad. More recently, the current war has further exacerbated the problem. While a multitude of women sought refuge across borders, men, for the most part, stayed to fight, and a significant number perished in the confrontations. Today, this gender disparity is increasingly evident. In remote locations, it is rare to find young men, and many women remain single not by choice, but because of the scarcity of potential partners. In certain social groups, it is common to see women competing for the attention of the few available men. Walking the streets or attending celebrations and social gatherings gives the impression that the majority of those present are women, while male participation is minimal. Given the current scenario of ongoing war and uncertainty about tomorrow, this asymmetry tends to intensify over time. The practice of prostitution is widespread in Ukraine, especially in large cities and regions affected by the conflicts. Economic fragility, aggravated by the military confrontation and government instability, leads many women to resort to this activity as a means of subsistence. Calculations made before the start of the war estimated that tens of thousands were involved in this type of service, with a strong concentration in the capital Kyiv. Since the outbreak of the conflict, the country's financial situation has deteriorated drastically, making women even more vulnerable. There are reports of women earning large sums of money by providing sexual services to soldiers near battlefields. However, this choice exposes them to even greater dangers, considering the violent and unstable environment in which they operate. Although there are penalties provided for in local legislation for this type of practice, the application of legal norms is frequently flawed, which allows prostitution to flourish away from the eyes of the law. Ukraine also adopts legal provisions that generate controversy, both domestically and beyond its borders. Starting in 2022, a ban was established on the commercial import of printed publications originating from Russia, Belarus, and areas under separatist control favorable to the Kremlin. Furthermore, Ukrainian citizens with Russian nationality were barred from publishing physical books unless they renounced their Russian citizenship. Such measures aim to safeguard the country's cultural heritage, although they have been harshly criticized for representing potential threats to freedom of expression. Another controversial legislative landmark is the so-called Decommunization law, passed in 2015, which aims to erase symbolic vestiges linked to the former Soviet regime. A striking example occurred in Odessa, where a sculpture of Lenin was converted into a representation of the villain Darth Vader, a character from a well-known film franchise. In 2014, at the height of major popular demonstrations, legal decrees were passed to severely restrict the right to protest. The installation of tents, platforms, and sound equipment in public spaces was prohibited, in addition to allowing the government to control media vehicles and, in extreme cases, block access to the internet. The town of Kyiv, located a few dozen kilometers from the border with Russia, has been under constant attack since the offensive in February of that year. This reality has required adaptations in many aspects of daily life, especially in the education sector. In the third month of the year 2025, the first underground school was opened in Kyiv, located at a depth of about 6 meters, with the capacity to serve hundreds of students per shift. The space was designed to function as a safe haven against missile and drone attacks, ensuring the continuity of school activities. In the Kharkiv region, other similar units are under construction, with several additional projects already in the planning stages. Corruption continues to be a chronic obstacle in the country, affecting various instances of public administration and eroding public trust. In 2024, Ukraine appeared among the countries most affected by this problem, according to international rankings. One of the most notorious cases occurred in May of the previous year, when the then Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was arrested for accepting a bribe. In the first month of the following year, an investigation at the Ministry of Defense revealed the embezzlement of a fortune intended for the purchase of ammunition. Later that same year, the Attorney General decided to resign after allegations surfaced involving prosecutors who used fake medical certificates to obtain undue advantages and possibly avoid military recruitment. Given the seriousness of these episodes, the Ukrainian government began to encourage the reporting of illegal acts, offering financial rewards to those who collaborated with investigations. Businessmen who contributed evidence received considerable sums in an attempt to promote institutional transparency. In addition, the humanitarian crisis caused by the war has reached alarming proportions. After 2 years of hostilities, a significant portion of the population lacks basic assistance. Millions of citizens have become internally displaced, while millions more have sought refuge in different countries, totaling tens of millions of people forced to flee their homes because of the destruction and violence. Urban infrastructure has also been severely affected. Hospitals located near the fighting face a shortage of professionals and supplies, compromising medical care. Children are among the hardest hit victims. Hundreds have died, and millions have had their lives completely transformed. In addition to physical trauma, the mental health of the population has deteriorated worryingly. Estimates indicate that millions of Ukrainians live with emotional disorders, including a high incidence of post-traumatic stress. The psychological care system, which was already facing difficulties before the war, is now struggling to meet the enormous demand. Humanitarian aid organizations have stepped up their efforts since the beginning of the war. Millions of vulnerable individuals have received financial support to cope with the coldest months of the year. The delivery of food, thermal clothing, and essential products continues to be carried out periodically. Despite the adverse context, Ukraine continues to stand out in international beauty pageants. Its representatives have achieved prestigious positions in events such as Miss Universe and Miss World. Examples of this are the honorable positions obtained by candidates in the last decade. In one striking case, one of the representatives was stripped of her crown for being a mother, something that, according to the rules of the competition, was not allowed. The decision generated great repercussions and resulted in a lawsuit against the organizing entity. In the field of civil rights, the LGBTQ+ community still faces enormous barriers. Pride parades, organized in the capital, have been the target of violent attacks with explosives and gas. The lack of specific legislation makes this population even more vulnerable. However, there have been recent advances. In December 2022, a new law was passed prohibiting hate speech based on sexual orientation. Activist Olena Shevchenko hailed the initiative as a step towards inclusion. The country's president has also shown a willingness to legalize civil unions between people of the same sex, indicating an openness to future changes. With the labor shortage caused by military mobilization, women have begun to occupy positions traditionally reserved for men, such as in heavy industry. Ukrainian society, still marked by conservative views inherited from the Soviet period, has begun to witness this transformation. Women workers have started operating equipment in mines and factories, although they still face prejudice and harsh conditions. Forced conscription to serve in the armed forces has been met with great opposition. At the beginning of 2024, thousands of lawsuits were filed against individuals who refused to heed the military call-up. The following month, explosions and attacks on recruitment offices resulted in fatalities. There are suspicions that some of these attacks were orchestrated by foreign agents, although it is also thought that internal dissatisfaction may have motivated such actions. Clashes between military personnel and civilians at enlistment units have been documented, evidencing the growing discontent among the population. These facts demonstrate the state's difficulty in balancing the defense of the territory with the preservation of the social fabric. Popular rejection of compulsory service exposes not only the fear of war, but also deep doubts about the fairness and legitimacy of the strategies adopted by the government. Which of these secrets did you find most surprising? Please share your thoughts on the dark side of Ukraine in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your support means a lot to us. Click on the video that's appearing on your screen now. I'm sure you'll enjoy the content.